Good morning. This is Mr. Terry. And today we're going to draw this picture of Mario and talk about why it's important that we study art in school. Good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Terry, and here I am at the kitchen table, which is a place that I like to sometimes sit and read and draw and things like that. And so I'm coming to you today, and we're going to do a little drawing. I'm going to try something that I've not done very much of. It's kind of new. I'm going to use a brush and ink technique, and also do a little coloring with markers. And while we're doing that, I want to talk to you about something I think is very important and sometimes misunderstood. I want to talk to you and give you some important reasons why we study art, why we have art class, why that is a part of our education, and why it is important. And I think a lot of people don't know that or don't think about that, so I want to take a little time and share that with you today. So let's get started. Okay, here's my sketch of Mario, and I did this in a light color, and I said I'm going to be doing something new, so I'll be using this ink and brush in order to put in my lines. So there may be some mistakes since I'm doing something new, but don't worry about that. We learn from our mistakes. Okay, so I said that I wanted to talk to you about why we study art, why it's important, why it's a part of our curriculum at school. And the first reason that I'm going to share with you is that art and visual arts, making images, is one of our oldest forms of communication. This is a way that people have been communicating throughout history, going all the way back to things like cave paintings and hieroglyphics. But also today we have all kinds of symbols and images that we use, things like traffic signs, or just simply shapes and colors. Even when we write, we really, we say we write letters, but we actually use lines and shapes to draw letters, which are just symbols for sounds. And so, visually is a very important way that we communicate. It has been throughout history, and it is something that I think is just going to increase as we add more and more screens to our lives. We will have more and more images. Already we see more images, more pictures in a single day, just thumbing through social media than people in this country did in a whole lifetime a couple hundred years ago. And so as this continues to increase, it's going to be more and more important for our students to be able to navigate and to function in the modern world. They're going to need to be visually literate. They're going to need to understand how to look at a picture, to put something together. They're going to need to know how to look at pictures in a PowerPoint and understand what's being communicated. So being visually literate is an important way that we need to help our students be able to communicate. Okay, so this drawing is coming along. But I told you that this is something that I don't normally do. As you can see, I just made a little mistake on the top part of the cap there. But don't worry about that. We can fix that a little bit later as we go. We have little tricks that we can use to make things work a little bit better. So I'll be sharing some of that with you a little bit later on in the video. For now, though, things seem to be going pretty well. I do like using the brush. Of course, as with anything that you do, you have to practice in order to get good at it. So you can see I need a little bit more practice, but still, it's a lot of fun to draw and illustrate this way. A second important reason is that visual arts develop our ability to solve problems. In reality, when we sit down to make a work of art, we get an idea in our mind that we want to communicate, an idea that we want to present and put together, and we have to figure out how we can make that happen. And so to do that, we're going to be drawing on all kinds of other subjects, other disciplines, or other classes that we've learned. Really, art is what we would call cross-curricular. We're going to be using math to measure. We'll be using science to understand light and shadows and for mixing colors. We're going to be using history and our life experiences to come up with concepts and ideas. And we're going to be putting all these things together to make a work of art. I'll just give you an example from my own life. It wasn't too many years ago that I got a job to illustrate a comic book for a small press out of Texas, and there was one scene they wanted me to draw a train. Well, that sounds simple, but the truth is they didn't want just any train. They wanted a train that dated back to the 1940s during World War II, and they wanted that to be a train that was used by the Germans during World War II. So I had to research, I had to look into the history and what kind of trains that were used, the science involved in steam engines, which were what were used at the time. So all these things came together. Had to be able to read in order to do the research for those things. All of that came together and helped me to create the illustration. And so it was a cross-curricular thing. I used other subjects and I put them together, and this helps our students to learn how to solve problems. And the world today, what business places and employers are looking for are people who can be creative, or people who can synthesize multiple thoughts and disciplines, people who can draw on life experiences and draw on other learning in order to create a new product or to solve a problem. And so this is very important for our students when it comes to working, when it comes to being successful in our modern economy. In case you haven't noticed yet, this video has been sped up. When I'm doing ink work, especially, I don't usually draw this fast. Usually take my time a little bit more, but the video was getting a little bit long, and so I kind of wanted to speed it up, and we may have to skip ahead on some parts here a little bit later. Alright, so now I'm drawing the Goombas, the little mushroom people that Mario has to avoid, and they're a lot of fun. I like their simple shapes and their cute little expressions that they make. As you can see, though, like I said, making little mistakes. Made a little mistake on the eye, and I just dropped the brush. I'm not used to holding a brush as much as I am a pen or a pencil, but that's okay. We can fix those things later, and like we said, we learn from our mistakes. Another aspect when it comes to developing our problem-solving skills is that visual art really requires that you use both your mental and physical abilities. If you sit and read a book, you mostly use your mental faculties. When you play a sport, you mostly use your physical. But when it comes to creating a work of art, you really have to utilize both. You have to have a good and imaginative concept, an idea, and you have to have the technique, you have to have the training, hand-eye coordination, muscle memory, in order to communicate that idea and to make it a reality in the physical world. I think developing these abilities and the ability to use both your mental and your physical faculties will give our students a leg up in this economy, where they'll be able to create things and come up with good ideas, but also make those ideas a reality. Alright, so here's my secret to fixing mistakes: white paint. And I'm going to go back and try to clean up some of the mistakes that I made here. Alright, one thing you might have noticed I'm putting just some little gaps in a black line just to kind of break it up and give it a little feeling of texture. Alright, as you can see, we have our final ink drawing, and now we're adding just a little bit of color. And so I'll be leaving just a little white edge on different areas to show where the light is shining. But otherwise, I'm just going to kind of be filling this in with Mario's classic red and blue color scheme. Okay, now I want to share with you our third reason for why it's important that we study art and that we have art as a part of our curriculum. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize. They don't realize how much things have changed, how much technology has changed our economy. And the third reason is just simply that it gives students more opportunities for career, more opportunities for work, more opportunities for extra income. In the past, people thought of the term starving artist, but now, I mean, there's quite a few opportunities. Technology has taken away the need for someone to move to the big city, to move to New York or Los Angeles. Now you can do this kind of work from anywhere. You can digitally send in your work. There's just all kinds of opportunities out there. I'll just share with you another example for me. I posted my work on social media. I was contacted by a restaurant owner in New York City, and he asked me to design a mural for his restaurant. And now there's a mural of mine, 13 feet long, on the wall in a Korean restaurant in New York City. And it was just something that somebody contacted me, and there are all kinds of opportunities like that now. And so, I'm not saying that it has to be someone's main career. I think about my grandparents, and when I was growing up, they did all kinds of things to produce income. They farmed, and in their farming, they did things like raise cattle, raise chickens, and plant a garden. But then they also worked in the logging business. They ran a little grocery store. Maybe some of you may remember that. But my point is that they had multiple streams of income, and that was how they survived. That's how they raised their family. It's how they provided for themselves. And in our economy now, I think that's going to continue to be the case. And, I think that if we give our students another opportunity, even if it's not their main career, if they find that they have a talent, that they have a skill that they develop in art and they can use that, why not give it to them? So that's my reasons why we should study art in school. I could say more about it, but I think that kind of gives you an idea. I'm really glad that our school system understands this and makes it a priority, and I think that it's going to be a great benefit to our students. So that's it. Thanks for joining me today at kind of a morning drawing session. I hope that you are still drawing while you're out of school, and just remind you that's how you get good. This drawing I did today, obviously I was trying something new, so it wasn't perfect. There were plenty of mistakes. But the more you draw, the better you get. Even your mistakes are learning experiences. So keep at it, keep drawing, and have a great day.